All right, what's going on, big dogs? SG Leo here, and in today's video, I wanted to go over a few things I think New World needs to add to their game in order to keep the game growing at a steady pace and to also help keep in players that they are bringing back. So let's dig into this. All right, guys, so before we get started, go ahead and hit that sub button if you haven't already. Turn on the bell so you know when I upload. And don't forget to go follow me over on my socials, all linked down below. That way you can be caught up to when I'm going live or just what I'm doing outside of gaming and projects like that. So let's get started here with the first thing I believe New World absolutely needs to add, and I would love to see implemented in the game, and that is simply pets. Now, obviously, I do believe pets are going to be a part of the game at some point. And I know a lot of people are probably sitting there going, "Well, of course they are. All these MMORPGs have pets. It's of course going to happen eventually." But I think New World is a little bit more special in the way of how we can use our pets. So to say, I know in some MMORPGs, depending on the pet that you get, it can give you certain buffs and certain attribute stats just for owning the pet or having it equipped, which is all fine and dandy. And yes, I know New World does have the quote unquote pets that just kind of sit at your home, but I was thinking of ones that are actually out following you around in the world. So, for instance, I think it would be really, really cool if you were able to buy, say, a dog pack, or you're able to save up gold and adopt pets throughout New World at shelters or wherever, right? And then on your pet, you can just own the pet and it'll follow you around or whatever, and it won't give you any buffs. But if you are able to go into the crafting system and make, say, a collar or a name tag for your pet, and then you're able to put on a gem, right? So with our stone crafting, you're able to put in gems, refined gems, and each one gives your pet a specific thing to buff you, basically. So as we know, certain gems give us the ability to taunt, depending on the ability that we use. Some increase our healing efficiency, things like that. And I think it would be really cool to allow the pets to do that. Now, it's important to note that I think this should strictly be a PvE type of thing. So if you were to hop into a duel or hop into PvP, your pet would not be there. One little thing I did think about, which this doesn't affect any of the gameplay at all, but I think it would be really cool when you start a duel and the arena kind of forms around you, right? That little circle that you can't leave. I think it'd be really cool if like your pets went to went behind you and sat at the corner of this ring and just were kind of sitting there like cheering you on a little bit, whatever. I think that'd be just kind of something cool, and it would just add a little bit more immersion to it. Like your pet still gets to stay with you. It just doesn't give you your buffs when you're in PvP. So for instance, like I said, you go into a duel, your pet is deactivated basically, but it's just sitting back waiting for you to be done with your duel. So I think those would be an extremely good add-on. I think there's a lot of potential with them, especially like I said with the gems and things like that. So the main thing too is why I like the gem idea the most out of everything I've thought of or read myself on potential pet add-ins for New World is because it would allow you just to have whatever pet you want and then give him the gem that you want to use the most, right? That's one thing I've never really liked about games is sometimes you'll get this pet that's just super overpowered, super broken, but it's the ugliest, stupid pet you've ever seen in your damn life. But you have to run it or you're trolling, basically. You know what I mean? So I really like it when games implement pets that you're allowed to buff, that you're allowed to decide what their attributes are by training them or by giving them certain things to hold or whatever. I think that would be really, really cool. And I think it would add a lot to the game, a little bit more depth to it. And it's just nice to have. Who doesn't like running around with a cat or a dog or a bird or whatever? Who doesn't like, having their pet, their IRL pet or whatever in game with them, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people, like if they own a golden retriever, for instance, will buy a golden colored dog in the games because it's just cool to a lot of people project themselves in their characters in games like this. So pets are my number one thing that I think New World needs. So moving on to number two, player strongholds. And I am talking player strongholds that are similar to the ones in Lost Ark, right? So I'm assuming most of you who are watching my channel, since this is more of a MMO RPG channel, that you have at least heard of or played Lost Ark at this point, right? So the stronghold in Lost Ark is its own separate area that you're allowed to upgrade and make it kind of your own place. Now, the downside is you can't really change the look of your stronghold. You can add like structures and stuff to it, sure, but like the actual house itself, you can't go in and look at it. Can't do any of that stuff. It's just there. Everybody's looks the same. The layouts are all the same. You can just place certain things. Kind of like how the homes are in New World right now. Everyone can buy the same house and the layout's going to be exactly the same, but you can kind of decorate it yourself a little bit. I hope that makes sense. What I'm talking about is something where you're able to do, say, a quest. Maybe this is a mid game or late game type of product. I would prefer it to be a mid game thing, kind of like level 30, 35. You're able to get your stronghold. You're able to fast travel to it so long as you're at a shrine or you're in a city. I don't think they should allow you to recall to it at will. I think that should still stick to the inns because I feel like that would be a little too broken. The only way I could see them allowing you to recall to it every 30 minutes would be if you recalling to your stronghold took away your ability to recall to the inn that you last stayed at for the next 30 minutes. Like recalling at all to the inn or to your stronghold is disabled for 30 minutes. So that would work, but I don't think you should be able to do it. I think it should stay with the inns. Anyways, I think it would be really cool for them to implement it in the style that the way Skyrim did it back in the day, which is you're able to kind of have like the base foundation of a home, and then you're able to add wings to it that do specific things. You're able to add a forge, you're able to add an armory, and you're kind of able to build the house around how your play style is. So if you're really big into crafting or arcane type stuff, you can build your house to reflect that. And I think it'd be really cool just to kind of have your own little island where you're able to build up things and kind of have like, your own piece of land, literally. I think it'd be really cool. Obviously, this is a really, really big add-on. This would be a huge, huge add-on. So I don't even expect this within the next year, but just something along those lines. Maybe within the next year, we can get like an update on that or something like that. But I would really, really like to see strongholds because who doesn't like have their own player home, right? It'd be really cool to have like an island that's kind of out in the ocean a little bit off the coast somewhere. And, you're able to build like a little bench area set up where you can just sit down and look off into the ocean, or you're able to build like a shed like a storage shed that they have in towns, but it gives you 1,000, right? It gives you an extra 1,000 storage space, and you're able to use that maybe globally, or it is linked to your faction controlled territories, kind of like how now you can transfer your stuff between your faction controlled territories. So I think that would be a huge add-on. Obviously, this one is probably the biggest and would take the longest for them to make and add into, but I do think it would be a great idea. I've noticed a lot of MMORPGs kind of doing the same Lost Ark style of having like your own stronghold, like that it's its own separate area that you have to fast travel to. So I think New World would be the perfect game to do it in, just because the graphics are really good and the crafting system in it is already pretty basic. So I think it would really, really strive in this game setting. All right, guys, and for the third and final thing, I would like to see some new type of making factions feel important. Okay, so right now, obviously, if you own a bunch of territories through your faction, you're able to transfer your materials throughout your storage units. Your trading, like tax and things like that, is a lot lower. It's not bad, right? Being part of a faction isn't terrible right now. It's definitely better than it was at the beginning, where it didn't feel impactful whatsoever. But I think it would be in their best interest to try and figure out ways to make it that your faction is your team. Your faction can help you out a ton, right? Your faction can do a lot for you currently, but I think there's so much more potential behind it. I think it'd be really cool to have like maybe each faction, maybe they add 3 new land masses, 3 new territories, right? They're not big. They're not these massive new territories, but they're just these 3 little alcoves maybe spread on each, triangle corner of the map. One being the Marauders, one being the Syndicate, and one being the Covenants. And you as a faction on that map, on that server, are able to build up your faction stronghold, which will give you as a whole more bonuses, more resources, access to maybe like new cool equipment and areas or buffs or something like that. Just something that's a little bit more team orientated, other than just straight up PvP and territory control, I guess. Because in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of people care about the territory control. People just care about the PvP right now. If you took out the territory control, I still think people would just do the PvP because it's fun, right? The PvP in the game is pretty fun. It's entertaining. It is pretty heavily skill-based, which is nice, obviously, but I would just like to see the factions be a little bit more like of a necessity because they already force you to pick one at the beginning. Now, obviously, you don't absolutely have to, but if you want to finish all the quests, you do. And I think it would make it really interesting being able to have everybody work as a cohesive unit on certain things. You know, maybe they do events every so often where instead of battling it out against each other, maybe they're like, okay, this weekend we're going to do a whole territory control ordeal where we're going to, like, every so often they wipe territory control. Not the whole server, just the territory control. And everyone's able to kind of fight for their own territory again because whatever. I just think something like that would make being in a faction a little bit more fun and would actually feel good to be part of a faction. And I also think they need to not allow you to see who owns what early on. Now, because I'm not saying that like reflects on what people are going to pick, but for us who know about the factions and know exactly how it works and how the territories and the trading and the taxes all work, being able to see who owns what when you make a new character is kind of dumb. Now, I'm somebody who's always going to stick with the Covenant just because the way I play my character and the way I act with my character, I just think that he fits best with the Covenant, but that's just me. But I think a lot of people will just pick whichever one to them is going to give them the most benefit, right? The biggest bang for their buck, so to speak. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you today. Let me know down below what you think New World needs to add, if there's any features or cool ideas that you guys think the game really, really needs or could really benefit from. Yeah, let me know down below. So I'll try my best to try and respond to as many as possible. Again, guys, don't forget to sub, hit that notification bell so you know when I upload, and don't forget to go follow me. And don't forget to go follow me over on. And don't forget to go follow me over on all my socials, especially my Twitch. I'm live there almost every day, playing games like New World, Apex Legends, League of Legends, you name it. I'm probably playing it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day. Peace.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard above me.